The memorial service for the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has been announced by the Patriotic Front. That's for the Zambian community based in South Africa. So they've announced a program that will be taking place in just a couple of hours for the Zambian community in South Africa, and open to the general public, as posted by the family, spoken by Emmanuel Mwamba earlier on. So they say Zambian community in South Africa to honor late President Edgar Lungu with a memorial service, Pretoria, South Africa, June 9th, 2025. So the Zambian community in South Africa will tomorrow hold a memorial service to honor, in honor of the late President of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu, celebrating his life, leadership, and contribution to the nation and its diaspora. The solemn event will take place on Tuesday, 10th June 2025, at the Cathedral of the Sacred Hearts, located at the corner of Nana Sita and Busman Street in Pretoria, beginning at 10 hours. So that's the location of the memorial service in South Africa, just in a couple of hours, actually. And the announcement inviting all Zambians nationals living in South Africa reads as peace and goodness in the Lord. The memorial of our late former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu will be held on Tuesday, 10th June 2025 at the Cathedral of the Sacred Hearts in Pretoria. Among the late president's many legacies, Zambians abroad will be reflecting deeply on his instrumental role in actualization of the dual citizenship and a long-standing appreciation of the diaspora that became a reality during his tenure. So those are some of the things that they highlight. And what is members of the opposition were at the Patriotic Front offices earlier on today, where they were signing a book of condolences and then pretty much consoling each other as they remember the former head of state. While it's on the other hand, PF Secretary General seems to be on a media tour in South Africa, because he's in South Africa at the moment. And in one of the news extracts, or one of the briefings where he had appeared, the statement that he issued has been trending. So Nakachinda, according to Phoenix FM, pretty much just reporting what he had said, reveals that Edgar Chagwa Lungu's family not ruling out the possibility of foul play in his death. So they say the Patriotic Front Secretary General Raphael Nakachinda says the family of the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu are not ruling out the possibility of suspected poisoning on the late former head of state. Speaking when he featured on Newsroom Africa in South Africa, Mr. Nakachinda says Mr. Lungu's family has insisted that the procedure by an independent specialist be conducted to establish the former head of state's death as to rule out suspicion. Mr. Nakachinda explains that Mr. Lungu's demise was sudden and shocking, especially that he was in contact with him 3 days before his death, when the two were discussing the upcoming by-election in Lumezi, and hence the suspicions of poisoning being raised by the family. He said both the Patriotic Front and Dose Alliance will do everything possible to support the former first family in ensuring good closure. All questions which may arise be answered extensively. Effects of efforts to get a comment from Chief Government Spokesperson Cornelius Moitwa failed by broadcast time, as his phone was unreachable. That's because Mr. Moitwa is currently out of the country, but he held a press briefing right after Home Affairs Minister Jack Mwimbu held a press briefing. So we had back-to-back press briefings coming from Minister of Home Affairs and also Chief Government Spokesperson. But what made everything now become pretty much this issue become a big thing in the public was this post posted by Dinginda Jonah Buyoya. That's a journalist, the BBC Komla Dimo Award winner of 2022. So I put up this statement, which everyone caught on, says, medical staff at South African hospital where President Edgar Lungu died, say they were threatened by the Zambian government officials who allegedly attempted to repatriate the late president's body without consent or knowledge of his family. So it's that statement now people are like, wait, there are even threats coming from the Zambian government towards the medical staff. So when he put up that statement, people in the comment section were like, time, you're contributing to the confusion that is already there, telling Jordan to say that statement is adding to the confusion that is currently prevailing in the nation. To which the journalist, Dingida Jonah, he responded, he says, I am not here to report good news, just news. So he says it's not his responsibility to sugarcoat any news or to add any information. He simply reports the information as he receives it. So that's how the medical staff from South Africa communicated it, and that's how he's reporting it. That's the point he was putting up across. But it became so big that now he was being tagged everywhere, and he was compelled to respond. And he says, everyone asking me to explain more. Well, this is just about it. That's what the hospital staff have said. The news is just the way it is. I have not added or subtracted anything. The remarks are, in fact, in public domain. Sitting on news, sitting on news to suit a narrative is a bad thing. The hospital is not under a rock. You can call them and talk to them. They seem very open. So when people are pressuring to say, where do you get that information? Pretty much asking him to, if it was a phone call interview that he had with a medical staff from South Africa to put up an audio, he simply says, the information is right there. If you are doubting him, simply call the hospital, they will give you the information. They are very open to provide the information. And since then, he left it at that. So he simply says, what he published is exactly what they told him. And if anyone wants further information, simply reach out to the hospital. That was his response. And then you say, listening to people talk in the space, you can clearly tell that people are intelligent and wise. So why is there so much confusion in our country? So they ask you to say, people are able to read between the lines and are intelligent to perceive. So he's just enjoying the discourse pretty much there. Whilst Fred Member was part of the opposition members of parliament, opposition members of leaders or political parties that visited the Patriotic Front office where they went to sign the book of condolences that pretty much console Given and the rest of the leadership of the Patriotic Front. And then Akashambata says he needs to come and help with information on the alleged poisoning of former President Edgar Lungu. So Akashambata is asking to say Nakashinda should return from South Africa and provide more depth to the information that he had provided to that media house. So we wait and see how it comes out. And then Antonio Mwanza says, so this moment requires a lot of wisdom and restraint from all of us. People's emotions are too high. So he says, because it's been a very heated debate in the public domain. So he simply says, hey, you cannot gag a person that's crying. And those are images still from the Patriotic Front of Secretariat where the opposition leaders were. You can see Malanji there, Fred Membe in the center, given window on the far right should be Sakuba Scotta in the black coat there. And then Chief Etayali says, our government has tried to be the bigger guy against the political vouchers, referring to Nakashinda, the rest of them. But but the rest, be rest assured that after the burial, so he simply laughs at them to say, yes, in as much as the opposition is having a few days making statements here and there, once the funeral is over, they better brace themselves. That's Chief Etayali laughing at them in the diaspora there, or on his self-imposed exile. He goes further to say he posts Raphael Nakashinda, because Raphael Nakashinda has been pretty much every media house in South Africa that is willing to host him is having a press brief with them. And then there was this video that was circulating where he was addressing, should have been in some hall, which looks like a lecture theater. And then to which Chief Etayali says, They are even hiring venues to speak to empty chairs, hoping to change what nature has already decided. Just to bring the body and let the man be put to rest in dignity. You can't hold it this longer. Government has outlined. I mean, you can't hold it any longer. Government has already outlined the deadline to say by 14th, the national mourning will be over. So might as well just bring him over. And then the UPND is saying you cannot respect President Hakainde Hichilema as a person, but respect his presidency. So that's a statement coming from the UPND there. So in as much as you might have not have regard for the sitting president, but at least respect the office which he occupies, pretty much as a presidency. And then one of the statements that came from Copperbelt Minister, he says, after the seventh day national mourning, our 60th Republican President, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, we will no longer tolerate this nonsense. The abuse of President Hakainde Hichilema must end, Copperbelt Province Minister Elisha Matambo. So he put up that statement there, coming from the Minister of the Copperbelt, simply saying they will not tolerate this nonsense any further. So after the national mourning, if you're making statements that are unfounded, you better brace yourself. And yeah, so that's the impasse that is happening. But so far, as things stand, the memorial will take place in South Africa. Most likely, maybe some of the opposition leaders might fly to South Africa, or they already are there. Wait and see how that plays out, and then it should be in the country on Wednesday. I mean, the body should be repatriated on Wednesday. And then in the news diggers, do not praise Lungu in death. You called him a thief. That's given Luinda. They are simply saying, I mean, at this point, you cannot be lumping praises on the former head of state. In his death, when he was alive, you called him a thief. And then the Minister of Home Affairs addressed the nation. So he was simply saying, be careful with the statements that you put in the public. Make sure you do not alarm the public with unfounded information. So once he held that press, he was seated right next to the Minister of Defense, and then Chagwa was the one who was coordinating the press brief. So after this press brief, simply telling the nation to say all misinformation that is being presented in the public without facts, people that are behind that will be held accountable, be it a video, be it a post, or anything of that nature. So make sure the information that you put in public is very verified, and you're sure you're standing on solid ground. Just like the Diamond TV journalist who was standing on solid ground, he's like, yo, if you want to verify, just call the hospital. What is Fred Membe says, we need sincere national dialogue on values, governance, and constitutionalism, human rights, reconciliation, and the economy, social cohesion, and many more. We need to begin to find collective solutions to these problems. That's Fred Membe's statement. And then obviously some highlights from the press briefing coming from Jack Mwimbo, Home Affairs Minister. So the highlights from the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbo, called on Zambians to unite in mourning the late former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, describing his death as a national and a personal loss. So he says he had interacted with him in different capacities, and his immediate predecessor, because Edgar Lungu had occupied the seat as Home Affairs Minister at some point. And then speaking at a press brief in Lusaka, Mr. Mwimbo expressed deep sorrow over the passing of the former head of state, recalling his own close ties to Mr. Lungu as a former Minister of Home Affairs and a fellow lawyer in the legal fraternity, and pretty much urged the nation to become and then be united. That was the press brief. But what is the UPND team led by mourners and mourners to the Belvedere Lodge, the official mourning location that has been allocated by government. So now it's a hive of activity. You can see monitor, they are signing the book of condolences there. And then obviously the Patriotic Front, on the other hand, also have their own version going on. You can see Nakashinda, they are signing, should be, because Nakashinda should be in South Africa unless he has come back in the country. But yeah, but there is this conversation also to say, if Kaunda led the nation at 40, Tassila can lead father's farewell. So people have been saying, are there any senior people in the Lungu family that can pretty much take charge of this funeral? And then people, someone put up a statement to say, if Kaunda could lead the nation, well, what makes you think Tassila Lungu is not able to see to it that the send of our father be dignified? So it's just different views coming from different people. Why is means of information and media say President Hakainde Hichilema holds no grudge against the late former President Edgar Lungu, Minister of Information. That's in the press brief that came after Jack Mwimbu, the one that was given by Cornelius Mwetwa. Should have been in Mombasa, Kenya, where he had that press brief, but he's not in the country, at least doing that press brief. So today, Minister of Information and Media, Chief Government Spokesperson Cornelius Mwetwa held a press brief concerning government's position, pretty much stating things and some of the highlights from that press brief. Government's position on the death of former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So the government is actively engaging with the family of the late President Edgar Chagwa Lungu in order to ensure that all protocols and actions to be taken are in line with and in sync with the family's expectations or wishes. And then also, this is to ensure that the late president gets a befitting and dignified send-off. And then it is regrettable that some leaders in the Patriotic Front are turning the funeral into a political fiesta, making it a platform for political squabbles and finger pointing. And then the Patriotic Front leaders are using the death of the former president as a political springboard in order to gain some political relevance. And then obviously some of the allegations that the former president Edgar Lungu would have not died if he were not delayed to be evacuated for medical attention abroad, indicated that there was no time. I mean, there was no time that that government did place a travel a ban on a former president, probably simply saying there was no travel ban imposed by the UPND government on Edgar Lungu, as alleged by some leaders from the Patriotic Front. And then what else does this say? On allegations that government withdrew entitlements for the former president, indicates that there was no time. There was no indicated that at no time did government withdraw any entitlements that were properly accrued of the late president. So simply saying, giving government's position there. What else is here that I might have missed? We cannot therefore entertain a situation where statements are made in order to promote anarchy in the nation. And then he closes it off to say the chief government spokesperson has since called upon citizens to remain calm and give former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu a befitting and dignified send-off. So they are just debunking some of the statements that have been flying in the media from the opposition there. And then also government experts call on the church to intervene in the standoff between the late family and the government over the funeral. So some stakeholders are calling on the church to intervene, and if they are able to do anything, let them do it now. And what else is in the news? The mass newspaper say, "Stop it, shut up." Luinda tells of pretenders praising Lungu, whom they insulted daily. That's in the mass newspaper there. In the Daily Revelation, PF killed Lungu Mwaliteta. They knew about his sickness, yet they forced him to return to active politics. That's a statement coming from Mwaliteta there. And then, yeah, so as things stand, South Africa is to host a memorial service for the late president before his body is repatriated to Zambia. And then I'll keep you posted as the news develops. That's the news, ladies and gentlemen.